everyone. Sorry for the mini delay. It's happened. The whole 2025 awards season has come to an end. The Oscars were 2 days ago at this point. An interesting ceremony overall, an interesting set of winners. I wouldn't say anything too crazy. We'll get into all of the categories, break them down individually in a second. But any overall thoughts on the show, Anthony? Hello to everyone also joining us live. Thank you, thank you. If you have any thoughts or questions, throw them in the live chat and we shall address them. But yeah, any overall thoughts?
Yeah, I think that this was another example of how the pendulum shifts from year to year. And I think looking at this year now in totality and seeing the trends that played out, this was the year of the indie. This was a year to celebrate independent cinema. And I think coming off of last year, where this big budget studio picture that harkened back to the traditional era of Hollywood with Oppenheimer dominated, it makes sense that then we kind of swung in this direction. Of course, talking about Anora's 5 wins, almost a sweep. Poor Yuri Borisov, but yeah, I think he was happy to be among all the wins for Anora. But also Flow, I think, really has cemented that the animated feature category is not only very different from when it started, but I think it really shows people taking care with that category and taking interest in it. And so that's to me what this award show is all about. And despite however we feel about these movies, I tend to think that if that's the statement the Oscars want to make, that independent cinema is alive and well, Sean Baker's speeches where he was advocating for independent theaters and that it's up to the people in that room to support them. I mean, that was lovely. It was a wonderful message to end this season on, this very tumultuous season. So yeah, I think that to me was the big takeaway from 2 nights ago.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely a night for independent film. I think we'll get into each of them, but yeah, Flow was basically like the first independent film to win animated feature. I don't know if you would consider Spirit Away independent. And yeah, Anora is like, I don't know if we've ever seen an independent film sweep quite like that. So huge for independent film.
Everything Everywhere All at Once was an independent film.
In a way, yes.
It didn't feel, I think it had genre aspirations that maybe made it feel a little bit bigger. But
definitely higher budget.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Anora, listen, there'll be a lot about the campaigning and what would have happened if Carla Sofia Gascon did not, completely ruin, at least
I think it was just Anora all along. I don't think it was ever going to be Emilia Perez or The Brutalist. It was Anora at the start of the season, and I think it just took until the PGA DGA Critics' Choice weekend for us to be like, oh, okay, it was actually just Anora.
Yeah, it was. I mean, honestly, the only thing that made us, I think, backpedal a little bit was the Golden Globes. But in that mold, Spotlight, it seemed had a very similar thing. I believe Spotlight had 6 nominations. It won 2. It didn't win 5, but it also didn't win anything at the Globes. But then it continued to press on, and it ended up winning Best Picture, just like Anora did. So, yeah, you might be right that maybe Anora was just the movie that everybody just kind of agreed on. I continue to think it was the most inoffensive movie, where The Brutalist was maybe too oblique, too artsy, too long for some. Wicked is too commercial. Conclave maybe is too safe. Anora proved to just matter the most to the most amount of voters. It appealed to the independent voters, appealed to the international voters. I think that also is key. Also represented by Flow. International voters are really changing the dynamic and what an Oscar movie looks like. And I think Neon has proven, we'll see if this year they can do it again. Winning.
How many years is it now?
It's been 5 straight years. Parasite, what was it in 2020? I know Titan was one. Anatomy of a Fall. Of course, Anora. There's one I'm missing in there. Parasite. So they've been on a 5-year streak. And so I think that they are aware of the changing tides, that people are leaning into international cinema. And I think also that they're leaning into younger movies that are taking risks. Anora feels like a younger voting body is voting. And so all those things I think Neon has tapped into, and why they've been doing very well and cementing themselves. A24, I think, needs to watch out a little. Neon is really cementing themselves as the independent studio of our age.
I mean, yeah, they were able to get Bong Joon-ho 3 Oscars, Sean Baker 4 Oscars. So if you want to win a whole bunch of Oscars in a sweep, maybe Neon is the place to go. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on for sentimental value at Cannes 2025 Neon.
Yeah,
a little preview.
Definitely.
But yeah, let's, without further ado, get into our overall thoughts, breaking it all down. Let's talk about the show overall before we get into each category. I thought of Anthony when we saw this opening with the two wicked gals here. I think it was the highlight of the show. I thought it was really well done. I think both of them are just amazing vocalists, and I thought it was a great way to open it. So, any thoughts? I'm sure you do have thoughts on their
Yeah, I
opening
mean,
the
listen,
show.
that visual of Ariana Grande with the rainbow kind of raining down on her. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was remarkable. And though it is peculiar how much The Wiz got, play on the telecast because it got
Yeah,
two numbers. I do think Cynthia singing from The Wiz at the beginning was very moving. And then, Defying Gravity was great. It wasn't necessarily, I think, the wicked medley we were expecting. But I also think, and we'll of course talk about this by the end of the show. To me, choosing to sing "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," choosing to sing "Home," choosing to sing these fundamental, formative pieces of music, it felt very much like they were trying to do their Lady Gaga Sound of Music moment, which really solidified her career. It showed that she's a serious performer and that she understands the importance of this piece of art. And I think that's maybe what they were going for as they position themselves for Wicked for Good. So I'm curious to see if that really gained them any favor, because it definitely, that room just lit up.
oh yeah,
They stood up and they went crazy. So I thought it was a beautiful way to start the show. I loved the whoever was filming it to follow Ari as she walked up, and then Ari to let her have that moment, and we got that moment of her watching Cynthia. I just that was beautifully directed. I couldn't have asked for anything more. So yeah, I was
yeah.
very happy with the opening.
Yeah, great opening. Also great like LA montage tribute at the start.
Mhm.
Conan's opening monologue I thought was very good. I thought he handled the balance very well. He is better than other hosts, I would say, at celebrating the movies more so than complaining about them. I feel like if we had other hosts, we would have a lot more jokes about the brutalist length, other stuff like that. But I feel like he is a movie lover himself, so he does a lot more of the celebrating. So good jokes. He addressed the Carlos Sofia Gascon thing in a
That was funny.
in
That was
probably the
good.
best way you could possibly do it. So he handled that well. Yeah.
Also, the one Neon movie we missed is Triangle of Sadness. That was part
Yes.
of their run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Conan's. I thought he had a bunch of funny jokes. I thought he delivered them with his unique style, which I liked. It was a different flavor for sure, but one I was looking forward to, and I was very happy to see. I do think though, the show being 30 minutes, literally, it was 7:30 when we got the first award, is
Yeah.
a little bit ridiculous. Like I like his block. I think if you go on YouTube is 18 minutes long, and I'm like,
It was a
come
little
on,
too long,
it's a little too long.
including a
Um,
wasting time musical segment.
yeah, I was like, you got to be very careful. That joke can,
Yeah.
it's like Adrian Brody's speech. Like that thing can,
We'll get to that. Yeah. Yeah.
um, but otherwise, the rest of the show, I don't know. I think because Anora just proved to be just so dominant, there was not a lot of suspense with what was going to win. Even Best Actress,
No.
I think, once it happened, it wasn't that big of a, like a moment to me. It felt, and and then they just started like again, Queen Latifah, wonderful performer. I don't know why at the end, like why they pad the show at the end.
Yeah.
The In Memoriam
In
song,
the music, what they can
yeah,
never get it right. It's so simple to do an in memoriam, and they just flub it every year. I don't
yeah.
understand. It's
Thought that
just
was odd. The James Bond thing, I liked Margaret Qualley's dancing, but I was like, we
yeah,
just did a James Bond tribute, I think, what, like in
thr
2012? So, like,
yeah.
so odd that we were doing it again so soon. And also, there was
Felt
just
like
something,
a funeral.
yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. So, I don't know. I felt like the show was uneven, but, its highs were high. Um,
Hmm.
but I do think you could feel like, yes, the original songs aren't the most important part of the telecast, but like when you have Billie Eilish and Rihanna and Lady Gaga performing, like it does give the show some like momentum and some originality and breaks up the monotony of award speech commercial, award speech commercial. I also thought the speeches were like some of them were very peculiar in a way that usually I'm not. That did kind of make the
Well,
show
yeah. Well, yeah.
oh, it's
I
normal.
would. I'd say also, well, yeah, the James Bond thing I thought was just weird. I like it wasn't bad. I just thought I didn't get the point of it.
Mhm.
Um, that and also they did yeah, I agree with the whole Queen Latifah thing. I feel like you could have maybe mixed that in with the in memoriam just to save some time. But I also feel like this ceremony didn't really have like I feel like you kind of sometimes need to have like those killer speeches or those like crazy moments, kind of like even just Emma Stone last year. I feel like that was like a surprise speech in a way with her reaction to it. Even like Divine Joy Randolph's speech I loved last year. I feel like Divine Joy Randolph, like throughout her sweep last year, I feel like was composed for most of it, and then like for the Oscars, she showed the most emotion. I mean, I feel like none of these speeches were like moments in a way. I feel like most of them were good speeches, but none of them were like moments that you could like
Karen
can go
Culkin,
back
I
and
mean, continues to be
yeah, but
wonderful.
it's just the same thing. I feel like there needs to be like an element of surprise. Like you go back and watch the Olivia Colman speech. I go back and watch like Divine Joy Randolph or Emma Stone. I feel like most years, I feel like we would have had that if we'll get into it. Demi Moore one. I feel like she's definitely
Yeah,
got a killer
I
speech in
think
her pocket there.
yeah,
So yeah,
I think she did that. I think we were robbed of a moment that felt like once in a lifetime. Because I
hmm
don't, no disrespect to Mikey Madison, but I don't expect this to be the last time she's in this conversation. So there's this sentiment that she will be back. And I think compare that to Timothy. Timothy, we've been around with longer. So I think that at least would have been, he's approaching Leo. I think at this point, whenever he wins, it is going to be like Leo.
yeah.
But Mikey just got here, So yeah, I think that honestly, the moment I perked up the most after the Wicked medley was when Killian Murphy walked on stage and they played the opera.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my God, the king has
he's
returned.
back. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, so yeah, so I think uneven. I mean, even down to the fact that like I liked Downey and Divine doing the little speech. I thought that was like nice, especially because the two of them, I
but
think,
no clips.
but no clips. But then we got clips later. So again, it
Well,
was
we
like,
know why. We know why. Emma
yeah,
Stone is not going to be like Carlos Sofia Gascon.
yeah. So I think you gotta just
Choose one.
choose one. So yeah, again, it's the
Yeah.
Oscars. You know, can't was it
Yeah,
was my
I'd say
favorite.
it was just a pretty typical show. I don't think that there
Yeah,
was anything too crazy in terms of surprise wins or like big moments.
yeah.
So it was a fine show. Let's get into each category. Our first one of the night, probably the one of the biggest locks, supporting actor Kieran Culkin. Once again, we talked about a good speech, tying back to his Emmys winning speech. Yeah, I don't really have any major thoughts on it. Good, it's just been a
So
sweep.
I saw a statistic, and what I don't know is whether this includes the intermission. But if
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
just taking the statistic at face value, Kieran Culkin is in a greater percentage of a real pain than Adrian Brody is in the
that
Brutalist.
makes sense.
It's
That
like
makes sense.
50% to like 58. It's like really close, but like, yeah, it is ridiculous. Like I tend to think that you just vote for whatever is the best performance in any given category. But I think when you look at this, you look at Zoe Saldana, it really does. Like they're not what the other actors are able to achieve with so fewer screen time is the point of the category, and like
Yeah,
they're co-lead. So I don't know if people will ever change. But listen, I'm very happy he has this award. I thought it was one of the best performances of the year. I think this was one of the better characters in that category, which I think he benefited from. So yeah, and I think he probably him and Sean Baker, I think probably did give my favorite speeches of the night.
yeah. His was a good speech. I like how he shouted out Jeremy Strong. Because I would have voted for Jeremy Strong personally. He was great. Um, yeah, and a good speech overall. I feel like honestly, given the Anora sweep, it might not have been Jeremy. It might have been your Borisov at number two. But I feel like Culkin was just too strong that it's pointless to figure out who was number two.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's really it for Kieran Culkin. Moving on, animated feature. This is a big one. Flow. We talked about it. I feel like this is really showing that the Academy's voting body has changed, become more international. And I think kind of taken what Guillermo del Toro said a few years ago, taking animation a little more seriously, that it's not just something for kids. And I think Flow also maybe benefited from the fact that the people who do still vote for like what my kid liked, what I watched with my kid, were maybe torn between Inside Out 2 and Wild Robot, because both of those were good. Inside Out 2 was, for a brief time last year, the highest grossing animated film of all time. Then Wild Robot also did very well, great with kids. And I feel like maybe Flow was helped by those two maybe splitting some votes. And I mean, Flow is one of my top 5 favorite films of the year. I loved it. I easily would have voted for it here. So I'm extremely happy to see it. And I'm extremely happy, like, Latvia's first Oscar ever, made with for like $3.7 million, like with software that anyone could use. I think it's just great precedent and such a cool
Yeah,
win.
they had the best story, and I think that's I was toying with it as we talked about on the last episode, but it just felt like did enough people watch it within the Academy? Because you do worry whether this category takes precedent as far as are they watching all the nominees? Are they giving it the care that you should in deliberating? among yourself about what should win. But yeah, Flo, I think, had the best story. It won an award early enough to show that it was a legitimate contender at the Golden Globes. Um, and I also think it really struck a chord with a lot of people. And it was the movie that I think more people were talking about in the voting period. So yeah, I'm very happy to see animation continue to stretch the boundaries in this category. I think it's not only great for animation, but in a way it indirectly makes American animation better because they have to work a little bit harder. I feel if they do want to be in
They
this.
must be so confused right now over the past 2 years. It's like we made huge blockbuster hit independent film, no, huge blockbuster hit films that were very well received, and we lost to like some independent, more like foreign films. So love
You
to
know,
see it, but I'm sure they're confused on what to do with that. And like Zootopia 2
I think they
next
should
year.
just look at the wall of all the previous Oscars that they have and just be happy.
Be happy
Have
with that.
those. If that,
Well,
if
Chris Sanders can't do that,
No, he
unfortunately
can't.
for him.
DreamWorks can.
DreamWorks.
Lest we forget, the first time this category was ever given out, I'm still listen. We that's a topic for another day.
It
Um,
is. It is. So that's animated feature. Moving on to another crazy surprise. Animated short, In the Shadow of the Cypress had one here. I believe it was ranked 4th on Gold Derby. I think it's like the first time in a long time that a short ranked that low ended up winning, and that happened in another shorts category. So the shorts were crazy this year. It continues the statistic that it's either in this category English language or silent films that win here. In the Shadow of the Cypress is a silent film, so it's got beautiful animation. I haven't seen any of the shorts, but nice surprise. I don't know.
yeah, I
Yeah.
do. We have to figure out a better way to predict these shorts. I mean, there's got to be. It's getting
They just
ridiculous.
mess with everyone's pool. It's crazy.
Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
I usually I'm against the sort of thinking. It's like, don't go with the title that makes the funniest. Like, the title is not as indicative as I think people think it is, though I did go to Yuck
Yeah.
at the last minute.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this proves it, because I think In the Shadow of the Cypress, it was probably, like, if you were ranking on title, was probably number 5.
Yeah, it was definitely number 5 out of all those titles. Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah. Oh, nice. $1,500 last minute bet on The Shadow of the Cypress. Congratulations. That's crazy. Did you use Kalshi for that? Yeah. Yeah. Crazy stuff with that category and the shorts in general. Sometimes I feel like maybe we should maybe the shorts should be at the governor's awards. That way our Oscar
Listen,
ballots can be done
I
better.
think I made this pitch on this show years ago, but I feel
Yeah.
like the Governor's Awards, they should make a bigger deal out of them. Because sometimes you get like
Stream
Samuel
them.
Jackson. It's like you get major talents. Diane Warren. Make the
Yeah.
Governor's Awards a big deal. Put the shorts there and the documentaries there, because you can talk about like the people at the end of their careers who've done brilliant work, and then talk about the people at the beginning of their careers, some of them who are making these wonderful short films. Bring them together, that's when you then present the nominations for the actual Academy Awards, and you have all the other categories. Like, I feel like that's what they should do. You give people their time, because I also think I feel bad for the short people, because like they're always like forced to like fit everything in
Yeah.
30 seconds. When some of these people, this might be the peak of their careers. This might be the pinnacle of what they've been working towards. So like, I just feel like they're third-class citizens in the show because of the celebrities and all the other people that we care about. So I don't know. Like, I'd rather give them their time and put them to the Governor's Awards. But again, I'm not
Yeah.
a governor of the Academy, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe going forward, we'll have a new category added to the ceremony next year. New first time predicting a category. Crazy stuff. Costume design. This was a fun win for Paul Tazewell for Wicked, the first Black man to ever win this category. Very deserved. Great speech. Great moment. I do like.
He said that,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah. And then he was just like, "Thank you," and left. But yeah. Yeah, good speech. And I like how, like, with this category and cinematography, some of the other ones, how they had people from the films come out and talk about the craftspeople's work on it. I think it's a good way of highlighting these people, having like, because usually it's like the celebrities and like the movie stars who get all the highlight and get sort of the Fab Five treatment. So having like this, having people who are good with words as actors are, or good at least remembering lines, and coming out and using kind of their persona and presence to highlight people who don't get the same level of attention. I think was a great way of doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I continually am in love with them, but I think Cynthia and Ariana were like the perfect people you wanted in the front row. They were just like everybody's cheerleader, especially the people from Wicked. And
Mhm.
yeah, I was very. I mean, listen, Paul Tazwell has been such a staple of the theatrical industry. I mean, he did the costumes for Hamilton. He did the costumes for the West Side Story remake, the Spielberg movie. He just did Death Becomes Her, which I saw a couple weeks ago, and so like his range is so impressive. And I was very, very happy with his win. And yeah, it's wonderful when we can, you know, make people like Paul Tazwell like these really important figures, you know, and give them this sort of this is the sort of things that I think the Oscars are meant for, because now he will able to expand the type of people that can see themselves in this category and see themselves win this sort of honor. So yes, very, very happy.
Yeah, agreed. Hi, Charlie. We love you too. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Um, and for joining us on this crazy season. We'll get to 2026 at the end of this video. Talk about what our plans are for that. But in the meantime, original screenplay. They did this earlier than I expected. The screenplay categories. Went to Anora, the first of many Anora wins, the first of many Sean Baker wins. All good speeches. I think you could tell that he was kind of spreading his speeches out and saving, like, he had multiple things he wanted to say and he was saving, I think, the best for director, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, good speech, good win.
Yeah. Again, I think the number two in this category was a movie that wasn't in Best Picture, which was a real pain. So I think that kind of really did narrow the race. So yeah, I just think this proves. I think the only category this year that had a Best Picture contender in it and didn't win was supporting actor for A Real Pain. So I think that just always proves to you, go with the Best Picture contender. It's. I mean, when you have 10 sure movies that everybody has to see, the odds are that's going to be the ones that take priority in these categories.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I worry about the Oscars becoming kind of like with the Emmys recently, where it's just like a lot of like the same five shows getting a ton of nominations. I remember reading that the number of nominated films at the Oscars this year is like the lowest it's been since sometime in the 90s. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like sometimes people like, it's just like the 10 best picture nominees once they've expanded it to 10, and then they just take those 10 and try and spread them across every other category as much as they can.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's
the only thing
interesting.
I will object to is that comparing this year to 2019, where Joker got 11 nominations and then Irishman, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood got 10. Uh, you know, that to me, that group of three, which I thought all were fine films. I like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood more than the others, but like I think they all speak to one type of movie and they speak to one sort of audience that they're appealing to. Where if you look at the contenders this year, I mean,
Yeah.
Substance, Anora, Wicked, Brutalist, like these, it was such a wide variety of different types of movies and the type of movies like the audience is for them, that this year I didn't have the same qualm, even though Amelia Perez had 13, and then Brutalist and Wicked had 10. A Complete Unknown had 8. Like those movies, I just feel like show a greater variety of cinema. So I thought it was fine. And we also, when you have a firm 10, like they get the Best Picture for a reason, and so you got to you check them
Yeah.
off in a number of categories.
Yeah. It's just
So
like we didn't have any like lone acting nominees. I feel like we have some of those most years. So it's interesting. It's interesting for sure.
by lone
Um
acting, you mean
like Daniel Brooks last year, like people who are
oh,
Brian
I get
Tyree Henry, like the main
you.
thing for their film.
Yeah. Mhm.
But we'll see. Could just be an off year for that. It would have been fun to see Farja win something, but I'm sure she'll be back. She's on their radar now.
On their radar.
So on their radar. Adapted screenplay, one of the easiest ones as well. Conclave, Peter Strawn, the first non-writer director to win this since Call Me by Your Name. So it's been a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't have any hot takes on this. Should have been Nickel Boys. It's crazy how Nickel Boys, you wouldn't, if you didn't see like the 10 minutes clip during adapted screenplay and then like the 10-minute best picture clip, you wouldn't have even known Nickel Boys was here at all, because there was no like jokes made of it, or as there probably shouldn't have been, but
Yeah,
at
I was
least
like,
addressing it during at least addressing it during the monologue. Like they didn't make too many jokes about I'm still here, but they at least still addressed it. But yeah,
yeah.
Nickel Boys pretty invisible, unfortunately, at this ceremony.
Yeah. So, yeah, overall, I think this was Conclave's one win. We'll get to editing in a second, but this just felt like this is where Conclave's going to be awarded And I think deservedly so. I think it is a worthy screenplay, even if there are others. I mean,
Oh
Sing
yeah.
Sing was wonderful. Nickel Boys, there are other scripts worthy of this honor, but I think Conclave is one that belongs in that conversation.
And it's nice to see a non-writer director win. Like
Yeah,
there are people who just write and don't direct, so
there are these
it's
people
nice.
called screenwriters, and they're
Screenwriters,
deserving of
yeah.
respect.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Moving along, makeup and hairstyling, The Substance. It's one major win. Thankfully, it goes home with it. Horror finally getting recognized here. Horror doesn't usually win a ton here. Usually it's like the biopic stuff, so it's nice to see like true body horror win here.
Yeah,
And I thought June Squibb did that was probably my. I feel like there weren't as many like presenter pairing jokes as there usually are. In terms of the grouping, like some of the grouping, like Miles Teller and Miley Cyrus, that was just like interesting. But
they
June
wrote the
Squibb and
Miles joke first, and then
yeah,
they were like, okay, I guess
that's
this will.
enough. Yeah, yeah. But I thought June Squibb was the best presenter in terms of her jokes, so she did a great job. And yeah, this win is of course great.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not gonna. I'm happy The Substance can say it's an Academy Award-winning movie. I agree with Charlie that I would have loved to have seen Farja win. If Demi Moore won, it would have been great. I mean, I think it maybe should have been competitive in picture, but that probably was a bridge too far. So I will take this
Mm-hmm.
win. Again, I like that this flow. We're expanding what sort of move. I really think the 2020s are going to be looked at as where we kind of just redefined. I think Parasite was the start of this. Like, anything can be Oscar caliber, Oscar potential. And I think that's really exciting.
It is for sure. Editing, mini surprise here. Some you predicted Anora, but I think it was between Anora and Conclave. I think most people went with Conclave, but just a proof of a Sean Baker Anora sweep
Yeah.
here.
Well, I think, listen, there were two reasons why I went Anora. The critique on the prediction that they weren't going to go for it because they didn't want to give Sean Baker that much. The names are not on the ballot for this category
Mm-hmm.
for I think all of the techs. Honestly, I don't even think the
It's just the
screenplay.
actors,
Yeah, just the
not even
actors.
directors. Yeah.
So that was one thing, is that maybe some people didn't even know that he edited it. And if they did, I mean, they already love him. It's not like, oh, I don't feel like when your movie's winning Best Picture, they feel like, oh, you've got enough. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's just whether there's another contender,
It was just
which
a
is,
down the ballot vote. It seemed
yeah.
for Anora.
But I just think when it comes to editing, you either go with what's winning sound or with what's winning Best Picture. I mean, that's just one or the other, whatever's stronger. And it wasn't going to be Dune, and which is what I predicted to win sound and what did win sound. So I was like, all right, then it's going to be the Best Picture winner, which I thought
Yeah,
was Anora. There are always listen. You can tell me, the Bohemian Rhapsody won sound, so I don't,
it did. Yeah,
that fits. But you can always tell me that. I'm sure there's a chance when that didn't happen, but most times that's the safest bet. And so I just bet on Anora, and I was happy to see it. I also think that it's one of probably the better winners in this category because it isn't flashy. It's really precise editing. That deals with the tonality of the movie, and walks that genre line between comedy and drama. So yeah, I was very happy to see this. And somebody I saw mention that if the casting award had been this
he would have
year,
gotten
there
five.
was a strong chance that Anora could have won 5. Though I'm going to be very interested to see how people go about that category, how you campaign for it, how it's it just seems like such a you know
It's new.
it's new. So I really just don't know what we're judging. So
Now
we'll
you
see.
have my mind racing. What was the last editing winner that didn't win sound or picture? People in the comments tell us because I've been like running through my mind all the way back to like Hacksaw Ridge, and I feel like I can't think of anything, but I might
I
have
will
missed
I will
something.
do that as you talk about the next category.
Okay, let's do it. Moving along to supporting actress Zoe Saldana, another sweeper here for Emilia Perez. Continuing her very emotional speeches. I like seeing some emotion on stage. A good mix of seriousness from some people, surprise from some people, emotion and sarcasm. Um, so a good mix of different types of speeches. And yeah, she gave a good speech. It's not who I would have voted for personally, but I do still think she is the best part of that film, and I do think she's a very deserving actress. She'll now they can campaign Avatar, Fire and Ash, starring leading a Oscar-winning actress with Zoe Saldana. But yeah, I don't have any too strong opinions about it. It's It's good. Good. Happy for
Um,
her.
The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was the last film, and it only
Oh
won
wow.
film editing, so that was 2011. Yeah, listen, I think that it's we'll never know if she won more for her body of work or if she won for the movie. I tend to think that she won more for the movie than people think. And yeah,
The
I do
controversy
think
did not hurt that film as much as like Carlos Sofia Gascon got applause. I don't think it hurt within the Academy people's
yeah,
perception of the film as much as people thought.
I do think that if the controversy hadn't happened, I do think it wins international feature. I do think that people felt in spite of the controversy, in
I
light
think
of the
that's.
controversy, that they were like, well, we have this other movie which is just as deserving. So like, it would have been more of a race. And I do
I
think
would
that
say. I would
what
say, I'm Still Here winning is more a sign of I'm Still Here. Like I would say, by the time it was nominated, like a majority of the Academy had not seen it. I think it's more a sign of people seeing I'm Still Here and loving that more
Mhm.
than people abandoning Amelia Perez. But we'll never know
Yeah,
for sure.
we'll never know. I also think that um, that Zoe she gave a speech after, and
Yes.
I know some people don't like what she said, how this movie to me like that wasn't what the movie was about and stuff, but ultimately I think that she did show a great deal of poise in how she dealt with everything, and I do think that people just look to her. I mean, throughout, like I think just going back to watching interviews when she was on Kimmel or stuff, she's always just been such a very humbling, very appreciative actress, and I do think goodwill goes a long way when you get to these sort of awards. I mean, I think what Sean Penn when he won the second time, he's like, I know I make it difficult for you guys to love me, so thank you. It's very rare you get that sort of actor, I think, doing well in these
Hmm.
sort of arenas. This is a popularity contest, lest we forget.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, as people in the chat are mentioning, some of the stuff she said in that after interview things that they do is up to everyone's interpretation. I mean, we've both talked about our thoughts on the film and its representation of certain
Yeah.
things, so we need to keep going into it. Hello Steve, thank you for joining us. We'll keep trying to do more live streams as the season's over, but let us know what you would like us to do in the off season in the live chat if you have
Season's
questions.
never over, as
Yeah,
Jack
no,
will
it's not.
always remind me.
It's never over. Yeah, we'll get to it, but yeah, supporting actress Zoe Saldana, interesting overall. Moving on, sound. Dune Part 2. I think there was some worry, including me, that A Complete Unknown could win here, but it ended up being
Yes, my
Dune.
favorite thing
So
was I think this was the category where in our chat you were like, "Oh my god, this is gonna watch out," and then 2 seconds later, "Never
yeah,
mind, we're good." It
yeah,
was
yeah,
one inch in those 10 seconds
yeah.
where
Yes,
Jack
it
for a
was.
second thought what
I
was
was
it gonna be?
worried.
Yeah, well,
I
I
was
wasn't.
worried.
I felt that Dune is still beloved and regarded, and this definitely had the most sound, and so this makes sense. And I was very happy again to see Dune Part Two do well. I'm curious now what happens for Dune Messiah. Again,
That's a
another
stacked
thing
year too.
we can
It's
talk about.
going
Yes,
against Odyssey. It's going against. That's going to be a crazy year. Jordan
Jordan
Peele. Yeah.
Peele,
Steven
Christopher Nolan,
Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg, and Denis Villeneuve all in one year. I'm sure there are other people.
Narnia.
Yeah, so very
Yeah,
exciting.
that's
Yes,
going to be insane.
sound and visual effects. I thought that was interesting how the Brutalists like won all their awards at the same time. Dune won all their
Hmm.
awards at
Yeah,
the same
here
time.
we can move on to.
They
Oh, never
packaged.
mind. It's not next.
But it was
We've
all right.
got. Yeah, it
Um,
was a good win.
yeah.
But yeah, we can move on to one of the most interesting moments of the night. Original song, El Mal won for Amelia Perez. I forget this some French songwriter's name, singing at the end of the song. One of the most interesting speeches of the night for sure. Just a
What
very weak
song? The
category
song
this
that
year.
won or the song that was then performed during the speech?
I'm not a huge fan of either, so we'll see. But
And
yeah, I mean,
I'm supportive of artists like being quirky and fun. Like listen, I'll never forget when Cheryl Lee Ralph did her song when she won supporting actress for the Emmys. So like the instinct in me to support it is like strong. But oh my god, I never thought I would like agree with Jacques Audiard so much. He's like, please wrap it up. He was like trying to get out of frame.
he didn't
Uh,
even say a thing. He was just
yeah,
like,
no,
"Yep,
I think he knew. Like, yeah, that was definitely, yeah, Adrian
a
Brody.
moment."
I'm surprised Adrian Brody's getting all the flack, given
Well, we'll get to him. I think
yeah,
he might deserve more flack than them, honestly, but we'll
we'll
see. Thank you for joining us, Cesar. Definitely more worthy than a spreadsheet for sure. But yeah, we're like we said, we're gonna keep trying to do more lives. But yeah, and I also agree. we needed more reaction shots in the audience. I feel like they were very light on showing people's reactions in the audience, and
Yeah, they
I would have
waited.
liked to see.
They didn't get Carla's reaction until like the second joke when he was playing coy, like call me Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did feel that they were a little again. Maybe listen. Maybe it's a new director. I do. I'm not sure.
it's
I
the same
remember.
people as last year.
Yeah, I just I don't know. Maybe they felt a little like we don't want to ruffle any feathers.
Yeah,
We'll let Hulu
less
do that.
stars, less stars this year too. I feel like in terms of like star power,
Yeah.
but who knows? They
Listen,
should
I mean,
just like invite Meryl Streep every year.
that's what happens when the strikes.
True.
It's smaller movies. That's what happens. So
Yeah, we'll see. Diane Warren will return, I'm sure. Well, she'll return
as she
next
said,
year.
you're
I'm
not
sure.
getting rid of me.
Yeah, we'll see what she's got cooking up next year. Documentary short. This is the only one I think most people got right. Only Girl in the Orchestra, the only
Thank
one
you,
that was
Netflix.
number one in the odds. Yeah, thank you, Netflix. I think you should continue to have at least one of the shorts being won by Netflix. They
Yeah.
are powerful in the short categories. But yeah, interesting. I don't have much to say. Thank you for not making me go 0 for 3 in the shorts. Only Girl in the Orchestra. But yeah, that's documentary short. Documentary feature, great moment. No Other Land won, one of the best speeches of the night, I would say. Yeah, great win. I'm happy that it ended up winning. I did go with Porcelain War because I didn't have complete faith given the whole Glacier speech last year that
Just
the
the,
Academy
the
might not be
distributor.
ready.
That was really the only thing. I was like, who's
Mm-hmm.
campaigning for it? But I think the story was very powerful, and the speech represented that as well. And I do think the fact that it presented itself as a balanced portrayal, that the two filmmakers were Palestinian, two filmmakers was Israeli. I think that did speak to the voters. And yeah, I mean, it definitely was. I think one of the times when people really leaned into the documentary feature category in a way that usually they don't. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's nice. Well, I think it's a sign that there wasn't super strong competition here. Like I don't think there was a super strong number two. I guess you could have said Porcelain War, but I feel like lots of people maybe abstain from this category if they haven't seen them all. I think lots of people did see No Other Land, and No Other Land was their favorite. So I think that passion probably overcame any other film being super strong enough. So yeah, it was a good moment for sure. One of my favorite speeches if we were to give like a top 5 speeches. Production design, Wicked. Once again, Nathan Crowley finally getting his Oscar, I believe, on his 7th nomination. So great moment for him. Good speech. Happy for Wicked. We'll have to see how Wicked for Good does with all of these categories come next year.
I think it's interesting because again, I've always said that the emotional peak of the movie of these two movies is going to be in the second one. I really, when they sing For Good, I mean that's gonna make everybody cry. So it's possible. I do think that if this played very much like a Black Panther, and it could go the same way, where it gets really, really close, but then doesn't get into Best Picture.
I think it will be a Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, it could get on PGA, but then miss Best Picture. But we'll see. I do think that it's, as I've always said, I don't really think you can comp this to many other movies. Black Panther's the closest, but we've never seen a musical sequel be competitive in this regard. And I do think the production design, costume design, they are going to be unique for the sequel from what we've seen already. There's going to be Wizard of Oz elements that we're going to have to see. And so given that and the emotional climax of the story, I wouldn't be surprised if it went in both directions. It could be, this rare sequel that is able to continue its momentum, or it could, fade away. So
Black Panther won what, score, production design, and did it win costumes?
It won costume for the first one, and then Wakanda Forever won costume design, and got 4 other nominations. So
okay, because did Ruth Carter not do the first costumes for the first film?
Yeah,
I thought that was her first win.
It was, the first one was her first win, and then her second win was for Wakanda Forever. And that's why when she won, she was like, "It's good to be back here."
Okay, yeah. Okay.
So yeah, so I mean, it'll be interesting.
See it repeating.
It could, one of these could repeat, or maybe both. Again, it's really just going to come down to, I think, the quality of the movie,
and what it's up against.
I do think, looking at this year, I'm not sure what other big movies are going to compete. I'm not sure Avatar 3. My thing with Avatar 3 is I just don't know what I think Avatar 2 makes it in because it was this big risk to do it again, and the fact that he was able to do it gets a lot of credit. And I also think the technology improved so much. But I don't see that being that big of a jump from 2 to 3, especially given the time. So I don't know what 3 will have to offer. Again, never doubt James.
Fire Navi.
I'm aware. So we'll see. I mean, Avatar
Oscar
3.
winner Zoe Saldana.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, as we saw that year, Avatar: The Way of Water and Top Gun: Maverick were able to coincide. So maybe we get 2 sequels again.
We'll balance each other out next year because I will be Avatar 3 hardcore campaigner,
Yes.
and you will be rooting for Wicked for good. So
yes, but I don't know other than that. Like, what are the other big studio pictures? I mean, I was thinking maybe Sinners could because it's Coogler, but I don't know if that movie's going to perform the way that they want it to. So at that point, I mean, Mission Impossible 8. Like, I really think that Wicked for Good might
Michael
benefit.
Jackson movie.
Yes, I think that will do well. So I think that will probably get in there. So yeah, I think those are the 3 really big studio pictures that I think, unless something's not on our radar, but I think that could help Wicked, because then the type of voter that likes
Frankenstein, I think Frankenstein not a studio picture, but I think that will be a tech contender for sure.
I'm curious with Frankenstein. Wow, we're already jumping into next year. I'm curious.
Yeah,
we also have The Bride, which is Maggie Gyllenhaal's movie. And right now, I'm leaning towards The Bride as far as which one.
I would not lean in that direction personally.
I think so.
I would just say I would lean towards Frankenstein. That's all.
What, do you have insider scoop?
I might know. Well, I might. There may have been multiple test screenings, is all I will say. Moving along, cut that part out, guys. Visual effects, Dune winning, of course. Yeah, deserved. I don't think there's any doubt here. So it was nice seeing Timothée Chalamet shake the hands of all of the people who won for the Dune tech team. So yeah, nice. It will be Avatar next year, and then it will be Dune again the next year. So yeah. International feature, here we go. Huge moment here. One of the best moments of the night. I'm Still Here surprises and beats Emilia Perez, Brazil's first Oscar win.
Surprise. Well, I think we all kind of thought this was going to happen.
I think most people hopped on this train, actually, by the end of it. But it was. I think there was still a worry going into it that it might still be Emilia Perez, even though most people switched to I'm Still Here. But yeah, great moment. We'll get to it with Adrian Brody, but it's crazy how some people get so much speech time and then they're like, Walter Salas, huge moment for him and for Brazil in this film, and he got cut off so soon.
Let me get on my soapbox for a second. First of all, I was very happy with I'm Still Here. It's a beautiful film. I know we really loved it here on the channel, and it was so heartwarming to see streets of Brazil just go crazy.
Yeah, did you see like that video of like the projection on the wall?
Yes.
Yeah, great moment.
Very happy. Yeah. All right, listen. I don't like playing people off. I don't.
In general.
In general. And I do think most, like when the 2020, 2021 year, the one that Steven Soderbergh was behind, which unfortunately, I thought it was a great show up until the Chadwick debacle, how it ended. Yes. But I thought they didn't play anybody off. And most people gave really beautiful speeches. I can still remember them. Thomas Vinterberg and Yoo Jung-yoon, the Nomadland crew.
Daniel Kaluuya.
Daniel Kaluuya, yeah. You talked about his mom, getting
conceiving him.
So like it was a wonderful night. And most people understand that like there is a time limit, So that's what I think I would prefer. And so, yes, I understand that like when you play people off, it's not like I really don't like when you can see somebody going to the microphone and you start playing.
We saw that with the Dune team.
Yeah. I agree with Miley Cyrus, who I think said, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
The other thing, okay, listen, the show, the reason why we put actor, actress, director, and picture at the end is that those are the awards that we really do put the most stock into hearing the speeches. So I'm okay if Adrian Brody wants to tell the people not to, Bette Midler did the same thing.
To an extent.
Bette
Midler,
we'll
get to Adrian Brody.
He won the Tony for Hello, Dolly. He just better have something to say when he silenced the orchestra. That's it. If he had said a wonderful thing and like a life-changing speech at the end of it, nobody would be complaining. It was just that he didn't have really anything important to say after. That was the issue. I don't have a thing that's like, oh, this person did 5 minutes. Like, yeah, but I mean, when it comes to like Adrian Brody, let's say had Demi Moore won, we want them to give a speech that is worthy of us following their careers for 20 years.
Anyway, if it's a good speech. Yes.
If it's a good speech. It really comes down to it being a good speech. I don't think we should look at like, him getting cut off. It's like, but if we watched for these other people.
No, I want it to be, I would like it to be more equal. I think.
Yeah,
I feel like no one should be. I agree. No one should be played off. We're here to watch people
yeah.
give speeches, and
Well,
win
let's
their
not
awards.
joke.
This is
Let's
a
not like
huge
kid
moment.
ourselves. We wait to watch these people at the end give these speeches. We're not tuning in for like best documentary foreign short. Like that's just not
No,
the reality.
no,
And so, but I think there should be no time limit and just I don't know, like cut the James Bond thing, cut Ease on Down the Road. There are
yeah,
things to cut. I can't believe in a year where we didn't have the original song performances, the show is still 3.5 hours.
yeah.
All
It's crazy.
right.
Well, next year.
Okay.
But yeah, anything else on? I'm very happy for I'm Still Here. I'm so
Yeah.
happy that's the
Very
Oscar
happy
winning
for
film.
Walter
It's
Salads. Um,
yeah,
yeah. So yeah.
yeah, my second favorite of all of the picture nominees. So I really enjoyed at least one of my top two getting an Oscar win. So moving along, live action shorts. Speaking of the shorts, this was insane. This was the one that surprised me the most. I'm Not a Robot. It was like I think fourth or fifth in the odds. It was like easily from what I heard, like one of the better made ones, but like the one with like the least like of a message or importance to it. I felt pretty good about predicting Alien here, but maybe it was because some of the other ones were like all more serious, and this one had maybe more comedy to it. But you can't reason with how these things
Yeah, it was
happen.
like
So
you're trying to, I don't know. I'm sure there's somebody who could
who
explain this,
knows?
but I don't think it's us.
No, it is not us, for sure. Cinematography, we're getting into a brutalist run here for Lal Crowley. Good win. Happy for him.
Very.
Beautifully
I
shot.
think we said this before, but this was, I think, the representative of like it only cost 10 million to make and it looks that good. That's where this narrative got an award, not in director as
Mm-hmm.
people thought, but in cinematography.
Yeah, yeah, good win. And once again, I like having the actors come out and talk about the cinematographers. So good moment. Also, original score, Daniel Bloomberg. Gave up one, also probably one of my favorite speeches of the night. I feel like you could tell he was happy to be winning, and I think he made a little bit of a joke about the original song win with the way he ended his speech by singing. So good win. Best score of the nominees. Happy to see it, and I think this is only like his second score ever. So between this is like what's his name from Yorgos's film last year. Lots of new and upcoming scorers,
Composers, yeah.
composers, yeah, scorers. um
Scores.
Scorers, yeah, like in soccer. Yeah, good speech, good moment. Actor, let's talk about it. Adrian Brody for The Brutalist. A deserving win, a great actor. I just don't think we've seen throughout this entire season a great speech giver. I feel like you said, if you're going to go up there and give the longest speech in Oscars history, I would hope you would have something to say instead of, like throwing your gum and then like getting up there and just rambling and then them playing music and being like, I've been here before. I know this rodeo. It just felt a little self-important. And I feel like a lot of the people complaining about what
Well, it's self-important.
Timothy
Kind of
Chow.
like the list. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, I'll just say it makes sense how Adrian Brody and Brady Corbet get along, given both
yeah.
of their speeches.
So, okay, listen, I want to say that I have so much sympathy for anybody who has to go up and give this speech. I think it is ridiculous that we
Yeah.
do not tell these people who are going to be filmed forever to give a speech for an award. Like Mikey Madison, like she's like, I don't think I'm going to win. I might win. Has to go up and give a speech that will be remembered for the rest of her career, that will outlive her. Like, I think it's ridiculous that like we do this. I know it makes it for a fun show, but that's what. So I have sympathy for anybody who has to go up there. Not everybody can be Olivia Colman and make a farting noise with her face and
Yeah.
cry and make us laugh and give us that beautiful moment we hope for. I just think ultimately he was caught between wanting to say stuff about his career and wanting to say stuff about the movie. And it felt to me that he didn't, when the music started to play, he did not want to leave without saying something about what the movie represented. So I understand, like, I get why he said it. But I just think you could hear a pin drop. I've never seen the Dolby Theater so quiet. Nobody clapped for the people when he talked about his co-stars. Like, it was just very
It was
odd.
weird. Yeah.
I honestly feel like
And poor
Halle Berry,
Cillian Murphy, who doesn't like being in public in general, had to be stuck behind the longest Oscar-winning speech ever.
yeah, I do think I wish Halle Berry was there to present it to him. That way, I think at least we would have like started with some spirit, something. Yeah, I thought her moment on the red carpet was wonderful. So yeah, in the end, I think that there's no denying he is the brutalist. I think that it was probably the most demanding role of an actor this year. And yeah,
Yeah.
overall, I'm not, again, I don't go crazy for this stuff. I know people were like, oh my God, his speech, like, it was all right. It was long. I did tune out. But it's
Yeah.
all right. At that point, I was so focused on actress that I was like, all right, let's just get through this. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. True. He delayed the actress thing
Yeah.
for all of them.
Do we know
But
why, to Aaron's point, why they didn't switch up the genders like they usually do?
well, I think because originally it was supposed to be the Fab Five, which has the previous year's winner in that category come out. So I think it seemed like they stuck
No,
with what the Fab Five was going to do
they
in
made the
supporting
decision to
actor.
not do that weeks ago. It's not like Emma Stone's like, no, I am presenting Best Actress whether you like it or not. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't
Well, for
do it
some
all.
reason, it seemed like they had the supporting actors say what like the Fab Five people were going to say by singling people out. So it seems like they stuck with it, but didn't do that. So I don't know. It seemed like they had to make some last minute changes, and it wasn't completely consistent. So
Yeah.
we'll see how they do it next year. But yeah, I would just deserving winner. I just think the speech said a whole lot of nothing. It was quite long, so would not make my top speeches of the ceremony for sure. One that probably would. Oh wait, this is what should have. I forgot to pull this up. This is what should have popped up. This is what we needed during Adrian Brody's speech. I'm surprised they didn't use it at all. Maybe John Lithgow didn't want to, but they never used it throughout the ceremony. And if there was any time to use it, it would have been this moment here. So yeah, love John Lithgow. Love John Lithgow. But yeah, one of my favorite speeches of the night. Director Sean Baker for Anora. I feel like he saved most of what he wanted to say for this speech. Being presented
What
by Quentin
baller move.
Tarantino.
I'll be back and I'm going to say what I really want.
Yeah, with 4 Oscars in hand. But yeah, great speech talking about like encouraging the next generation to go to movie theaters, going to movie theaters, keeping them alive. Yeah, I think, like you said, I think was a great night for independent film, and I think he was a great ambassador for that with
I
his
mean,
speeches.
I don't think people forgot 3 films ago, he made it on an iPhone. I mean, he has always been this representative of breaking the rules, telling stories that everybody else is afraid to tell. And I think this was just the time that we caught up to him. It is kind of like the independent equivalent of Christopher Nolan. Like, this is just a guy who's been really working hard. And I think, dude, just like we were ignoring Nolan for a while and he got his first nomination for Dunkirk, you would have thought it would have come much earlier. I think Sean Baker, it's not that they didn't know who he was, it's just they finally caught up to him and realized, okay, we're not going to ignore you anymore. So yeah, I love this speech. I thought it was great. And I'm very interested to see what he does next. Will he go the Shutter Island route and maybe try to make movies a little bit bigger? Will he stick to his guns and make these little independent darlings? He has the whole world in front of him, whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, lots of questions for what everyone on the Anora team will
Yeah.
be doing next. It's crazy. He now has more Oscars than like Steven Spielberg and stuff. I think it's crazy how you can like go from no Oscar nominations to like then 4 Oscars within one award season.
I also listen. I think he is one of the greats. I'm very happy that they, whoever they get to present director is a big deal. But come on, the poor guy, Tarantino.
It's funny. It was
Wants
funny.
to win director, I think, so bad. At least that's what I think. I think he really does want to get validation.
He's been clear about it. Yeah.
And to have him present it, come on.
And have Sean Baker come up there. Thanks for my 3rd Oscar, Quentin. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, come on. I don't know.
It's funny.
Listen, I think I would have personally, if we can go rewrite time, I would have given it to him for. I mean, I probably would have given it to him for Pulp Fiction, and I probably would have given it to him for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Interesting.
And Inglourious Basterds.
I don't like that film.
I know you don't, but I would have honestly he should have been in the conversation for all 3 of those. And I probably liked. Yeah, I definitely liked Pulp Fiction.
Inglourious Basterds.
I like Pulp Fiction more than Forrest Gump. I like Inglourious Basterds.
Yes, yeah.
And I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, to me, I wouldn't have given it Best Picture, but I think directing, I probably would have. So
yeah,
I feel
he's got one more shot.
One more shot.
We'll see how it goes. He better pick wisely. He better pick a season like this where there's not super competitive and have Neon distribute for him is what I would say.
Yeah.
It should be his plan. Let's get to the big moment of the night. Best Actress. Probably most people. It wasn't a surprise. It wasn't a surprise for me. Shout out to me. I posted this on Twitter. On the YouTube channel, predicted every acting category and every award season correctly this year. Mm-hmm. So, wow. But yeah, it wasn't a huge surprise for me. I don't think for even people who weren't predicting Mikey Madison. I feel like by the time we got to this, I feel like lots of people with the Anora sweep were kind of just like, it's probably going to be Mikey Madison. So good speech. I think you could tell she was surprised too. It's nice having it's nice because we haven't rewarded young people in any category. This is the only category, the actors categories that they tend to do it in. So it's nice to have like rewarding the next generation in these
Yeah.
moments. I think that's nice. She gave a great performance. This has been a whole thing on Twitter with Anora and then Mikey Madison in general winning, and I just it's I don't understand. I just award season can be tiring sometimes. She's great performance. Any of those top three who could have won would have been extremely deserving winners, and it's not her fault that she won. And I'm very
No,
excited to see what she does next.
you can't blame the actor. I just
No,
think that
but people
there
are.
was, there was just something about, because I feel like we have it, like when Olivia Colman beat Glenn Close. Olivia Colman had been like working really long, like she was such a staple of British cinema, and then she comes in and delivers this powerhouse performance. So like, and she was the type of character actor who you felt like never would get this sort of chance. That the fact that she was afforded that win, like it didn't, it didn't hit me the wrong way. It Because Mikey's so young. I do think that because Mikey's so young, to see Fernando Torres and Demi Moore like sit there, even Cynthia Erivo, who's like been this what is she, an egged? She doesn't have the O. She doesn't have the
She's an
vowel.
ego. Oh wait, no,
No,
yeah, she's an
no,
egged.
she's an egged.
Egged.
It just felt like, listen, and there's not, listen, Mikey Madison is definitely one of the rising stars of the industry, so I understand it, but I did think it was like a little odd to like have all these people who gave such wonderful work have to sit there.
I
But
think but Demi Moore was. I think if you ask, I think it. Well, one, I think we just needed to continue to stick with what I should have done last year, and what I convinced myself, thankfully, to stick with this year is whoever is in the stronger film, especially if it's a Best Picture winner. If it's not a sweep, you go with whoever is in the strongest film. And I think Substance. I think it did better nomination wise than I think any of us expected, especially early on in the season. But I do think that maybe blinded us a little bit to the fact that it is still a body horror. It still doesn't completely work for everyone. And she's
I
also, compared to Mikey Madison, definitely not as much of a definitive lead in that film
yeah,
as Mikey Madison
I
is.
really yes, I think that was it. I think the performance it compared to me more to was Viola Davis and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Screen time was an issue,
Mm-hmm.
and I also just think that there was a movie that was more on the radar, that was a bigger
That
priority.
one Best Picture. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna look to see when the last time the number one in Best Picture did, or the higher ranked movie for picture did not win actress, because I
I
do think
think
I
I
think the
think
women
that
in
would
particular,
be
more often than not, it's getting better. This was probably the best year
mm-hmm.
for it. But more often than not, it is the women who have less movies in Best Picture than the men seem to do.
Oh
All
yeah, yeah.
right,
I think
let's.
I think I remember looking back on it when it's not a sweep and it didn't go to the person in the stronger film. I think was Meryl Streep for Iron Lady, but I might be wrong about that.
Yeah,
But we'll see.
because I mean Renee Zellweger, but that was a sweep for
That
Judy.
was a sweep. Yeah,
Um,
McDormand was a sweep. Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
Yalitza, if do you count, Roma did win more Oscars than Olivia Colman.
yeah, but McDormand still swept, so it
No,
doesn't
I'm
really
sorry.
matter.
Yalitza won more. Roma won more Oscars than The Favorite. So
Oh wait, yeah, yeah.
Roma was the stronger movie, but also she was a
She
non-professional.
was. Yeah.
Um, Emma
Let's see.
Stone was in the bigger contender.
Mm-hmm.
Brie Larson was in the bigger contender.
She also
Uh,
swept. Julianne Moore swept.
Julianne Moore, Kate Blanchett swept.
Yeah, and then is
Jennifer
it
Lawrence
Streep?
swept.
Jennifer Lawrence swept.
Yeah, but I also think like,
And
yeah, I guess Viola Davis is in The Help was, yeah, that was definitely the
which is a
strong.
stronger film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just wasn't winning. We would have to go back and see, because I think this was the real thing. Anora was winning Best Picture at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You go, Mikey. When was the last time an actor in the lead categories who like is the lead, so even the titular role, loses out to somebody else? That would be, I think, the stat that we will look up before next year, because I'm sure it will come up.
Yes, I'm sure when we talk about Julie Roberts versus I don't know who else is in contention next year, but
Jennifer
we'll see.
Lawrence, Oscar
Jennifer
number 2.
Lawrence coming for back for number 2, like Emma Stone. Who knows?
Emma
Yeah,
Stone
we'll see.
will be back with Begonia. It'll be an
I have
interesting.
doubts about that,
We'll see.
but we'll
You
see.
also
We'll
go
have to see
Julie
how.
Tensley.
Yeah, we'll have to see how a movie about torturing a CEO is taken in today's day and age. But who knows? But yeah,
and
I think
and
yeah,
it's
lots of
Cynthia, so we'll see. Cynthia's in
yeah.
the mix.
lots of people mentioning how this is kind of the plot. I saw lots of tweets about it too, about the plot of The Substance and such. I hope Demi Moore will have another shot at this. I hope this like whole award season boosted her to getting more juicy roles, to
Yeah.
potentially be in contention in the future. But this was Mikey Madison's time, and well, I do. I've
Mikey
seen lots of
Madison's
people say
like
it's
25.
no. I just mean it was her moment more than her time.
It was her moment, not her time.
No,
Jesus, it
definitely not
was
her
her
time.
time
I
when
do.
you're 25.
I've seen, yeah, it's great. She's 25. That's crazy. I've seen lots of people say how it's kind of like a curse to win an Oscar young. So hopefully that doesn't pan out, but we'll
Oh
see.
yeah, Emma Stone is
Um,
cursing the heavens.
well, I think Emma Stone was a little more established. I think
I know,
maybe
but Emma Stone was what,
maybe
28.
more later.
Jennifer Lawrence was 22. I don't think they're cursed.
Hmm.
You
No, they're
know,
not. So
we'll have to go
I
ask
don't think she'll
Tatum
be
O'Neal
either.
what she thinks.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I agree. I think Fernanda should have won. She is definitely my favorite in the category. Who would you have voted for? We never did this in that category. I would vote for Fernanda easily.
Check.
Oh, I forgot about her, Cynthia Erivo. Yes, of
It's like
course.
surprise.
Yeah, when we do that video next year, you can. Well, if she's nominated, we can talk about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, great. I think Mike Madsen, I agree, very deserved. Apparently, we've got a Lucy Liu movie coming out next year. We'll see, but yeah, very deserved. Great moment. Happy for her. And it ended with Best Picture going to Anora, Neon doing it once again. Yeah, very
Yeah, I
expected
mean,
by the
listen,
end of the
it's
night.
probably like my eighth or ninth best favorite contender out of these like 10.
Really,
Yeah. The more when I rewatched, I was like,
I
because
feel
I
like
just
it's gone down when we did the ranking. I don't feel like it was that low, was it?
yeah, because I honestly feel like you're gonna like this. If I rewatch Nickel Boys, that might go up,
Oh, it
honestly.
better.
It better. But like, yeah, I don't know. So listen, it wasn't my favorite contender, but I also think that it was a really, I think what it said about independent cinema, and I do think it proved to be the most entertaining movie. I think this and Wicked, but this didn't have to worry about the commercial
You have to have a
pretension.
good balance of entertaining and like artsy and like international and domestic appeal to win, and I feel like
Four
this
quadrants.
nailed. Yeah, this nailed all
In
of
the
it.
end, it was like, all right, I was just, it's, I love watching with people who don't know anything about like the season and the stuff.
Yeah.
So like seeing people who like don't like Anora realize that Anora's sweeping was the funniest thing. I was like,
Mhm.
because they were like, it can't be Anora. It's like it's gonna be Anora, and then
It's won everything it could pretty much besides supporting actor. So
it was very funny.
um, yeah, yeah. I out of the ones that could have realistically won by the end, it was really just Honora or Conclave. I prefer Honora over Conclave. I even preferred over like probably 3 and 4, which were I would say with the Brutalist and Amelia Perez were probably number 3 and 4. So
You think Emily
I'm
Perez was that?
happy. I think it's won 2 Oscars. What not many other films can say that were in Best Picture this year. What else would it have been? I'm still here.
No, I mean, yeah, because I guess the Complete Unknown didn't get anything.
No,
Yeah, maybe.
maybe Wicked. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, fun. It's interesting. I mentioned this in the reaction how this crazy award season ended with like what most people thought was going to happen at the start of the award season. So I guess trust your gut sometimes, guys, is what we should say. Um, but yeah, great award season overall. Any final thoughts on this whole season? What was your proudest prediction this entire season, Anthony?
Oh, for sure. Wicked for best film editing nomination. I was so that
Oh
and getting
yeah,
the best score nomination. I was very, very happy.
Wicked in
Um,
general, because during the early season predictions, I didn't even have it in any of the
yeah,
slideshows, and you kept being like, "You should at least have it in the slideshow,"
well,
and I'm like,
well,
"No."
listen, I was apprehensive because I felt that it was
Mhm.
important to me, but I didn't know if it was going to be regarded as important to everybody else. But I definitely felt that when we were doing this back in April and May of last year, that it had a better chance than fucking
Yeah,
Twisters. I mean, you had
yeah,
Twisters
I
on the
did
list,
have twisters.
not Wicked. I was like, good
Yeah,
God, Jack.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I won't make that mistake next
I
year.
think that was what was yours?
Oh God. Um, maybe, maybe just getting Best Actress right in general throughout the
Yeah, I
season.
think
I'm
that
trying
was
to
it.
think
I
what
do think that
anything
as
else.
far as the both of us, like us going for Fernanda at the Globes, I feel really good
Oh
about
yeah,
that was
yeah,
good.
yeah.
What are
It
we
was very
Monday?
good.
What's it?
Yeah, a little pat on the back. We've earned it.
Uh,
Yeah,
so,
I'm trying to think of
yes.
anything else. I think that was pretty much it.
And I will
Yeah.
say, because we keep seeing it in the comments, as far as questions about next year,
Yes.
Ariana and Cynthia are going to be looked at very differently than any other. Because I just think when it comes to sequels that have the chance to get into this conversation, I mean, typically they're not like the performances that Ari and Cynthia gave. They're like Ian McKellen and these big ensemble pieces. Ian McKellen gets nominated for Fellowship, but you're not going to nominate him for Return of the King.
No.
And so this is that is going to be new and exciting, and they're going to have to be. I do think they're going to have to be perceived as being better than the first performances.
Yes.
I think that'll be easier for Ariana because her role has a lot more complexity and depth. It could be the same for Cynthia because they might give her more to do, given that they're obviously expanding that story, especially with the song that hopefully will get her EGOT next year. So I'm curious to see what happens. I do think it's very possible they get back in there, but we have to see. I mean, we were thinking Joker 2 could be a contender until everybody saw it, and then
You,
well, yes,
not
I
me.
think it was fair to think so until we saw it, and then it
Yeah.
was like,
That's another thing I'm proud of. There we go. I never believed in Joker 2 when everyone had it at like number 2 or 3 in Best Picture. I'm like, it's not even getting nominated. I remember that first live stream we did where I had it like 13th or 14th, and the entire
yeah.
chat was making fun of me. How did that work out, everyone?
Jack just hates musicals. He doesn't like to
Mm-hmm.
feel. He likes
Yep.
these little movies that just feel like you're taking a needle and like squeezing blood out of
Squeezing
your.
blood.
That's the type of
Those
movies Jack likes.
those are my favorites. Yes. Yeah, I think Wicked will be our only musical next year, so we'll see how that goes in terms of how I feel about it. But yeah,
Hey, The
what's
Bride
your?
isn't The Bride a musical? I thought The
I
Bride was.
don't. We've talked. I don't have faith in it is a musical. I don't have faith in The Bride being an Oscars thing.
We'll see.
Is
I mean,
is
her
what
last movie,
we're definitely
Surprise, it got in a couple categories nobody thought. Jesse Buckley.
I would say less of a creative swing there with that one than there
Yeah,
is with this.
we'll see.
So we'll see how it pans out. Great cast, for
Yeah,
sure.
I think. Listen, nobody would have thought the substance. Or honestly, I do think Anora winning Palme d'Or made it put everybody on its radar. But if we had just heard like pre-Cannes voting, I'm not sure people would have thought, oh yeah, Anora, Best Picture, 5 Oscar sweep. So I do think, as far as going back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show, with the pendulums, shift.
Swing.
I am interested to see what that represents because it doesn't always mean the same thing. You look at Nomadland versus Coda; they're both independent films, but Coda was a lot warmer and was more of a feel-good movie. That was how it represented. Everything Everywhere was a pendulum swing in every possible direction.
Yeah, it was.
So I don't know. I think if I was going to look to something for next year, I'm
I'd say
curious.
keep an eye on Cannes because Cannes each year continues to have more and more Best Picture. Like 3 this year, I think 3 the previous year. As the Academy gets more international, I think more of those Cannes films become big contenders. So
Yeah,
I know what's happening there.
Yeah, I do think I would though look for something that is a little bit more polished than maybe Anora. I think Anora had this very like scruffy indie spirit. I think they're going to want something a little bit more packaged. So we'll see. But I don't know what that means because I really do think the Odyssey could do well the following year.
2 years,
2 years of Hollywood stuff. But so maybe a packaged indie in a way, something like a Sony Pictures classic of Fox Searchlight rather than the new crowd of the A24s and the Neons. I think those are the ones I'm going to look out to. I think there's a Paul Greengrass movie with Matthew McConaughey that might do well.
That's what I have at number 1 right now. If you look at Awards Expert, we're toying around with some stuff on that. We'll check out Award Expert, our early 2026 thoughts before I make a video about it. But yeah, Lost Bus is a film about previously California's most devastating wildfire. It's got Matthew McConaughey, America Ferrera. They're on like a school bus. Matthew McConaughey is the school bus driver, and America Ferrera is the teacher, and they have to get the kids to safety. It's an Apple TV production. It's by Paul Greengrass. I think you should keep an eye out for it.
The other one I think that maybe for picture, but I think for director, I think Highest to Lowest. I think Spike Lee might be able to do something special.
We'll see. I think ASAP Rocky is leading that film. He's the lead of it. So
is he? I thought Denzel is the lead. Is he supporting?
I'm pretty sure Spike Lee said that it is ASAP Rocky who was leading it. So we'll see.
Based on Akira Kurosawa. So I'm like Akira Kurosawa, Spike Lee.
Yeah.
That sounds like it could be exciting.
His last remake of a foreign film didn't go amazingly, but
that's true.
We'll see. Yeah, it's also got this is another thing. Ice Spice, Best Supporting Actress. Interesting cast for sure. But yeah, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves with After the Hunt and Julia Roberts potentially getting a second Oscar.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk about all
Julia
of
and
that stuff soon.
Jennifer is gonna be a fun race, I think.
Maybe Luca finally getting some due.
Yeah.
Um,
All
Io,
right, all right. We
Andy
got it.
Enfield. I'm getting
I
excited
can't believe
for
I gave you this
Lucas
much.
next
All
year.
right.
Yeah, yeah. We gave you guys a little hint towards 2026. But yeah, thank you all for joining us on this award season. It's been crazy. It's been fun. Thank you for all the love from Brazil. That was a huge moment, a huge period during this award season. So yeah, and I hope you guys will all join us as we enter our 2026 Oscar predictions. We might do some Emmy stuff as well during the off season. I think it's a good year for television. We'll see. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think that is pretty much it. I
Yes.
think
Thank you, guys. I mean, you guys make it fun for us. It's. I mean, yes, it's a conversation between the two of us, but it's really a conversation with you all. And to see the channel grow every year, it's very humbling. And thank you for making us part of your award season diet.
yes, yes. A very balanced diet. Thank you for us being a part of it. And yeah, as we end our little live stream here, just keep in mind that it was still shorter than Adrian Brody's speech. Um,
It was
so
5
he's
minutes
still
and
going.
40 seconds.
Felt about the length of this live stream, much longer. It had an intermission in the middle. Maybe we should do intermissions during our live stream. No.
We're
Okay,
about to do
guys.
intermission for a couple months. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh God.
Okie doke. And yeah, comment down below what you would like for us to see from us in the off season. What potential video ideas. Yeah. So thank you all for joining us this award season. Like, subscribe to stay tuned for what's coming up. Comment your thoughts on this ceremony, award season in general, all that stuff. And we'll see you in whatever video comes out after this. It's a mystery. Goodbye.